Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. It is Wacky and Weird Wednesday, where we look up all the weird offbeat stories that nobody's talking about because, is that real? Is that really happening? We've got animals, of course. We got humans doing weird things to each other and new discoveries that could change our perspective on planets and stuff. That's cool. This is Before Coffee, the father and daughter comprehensive news of Planet Earth podcast, where we look up our stories 10 to 15 minutes before we started, and we haven't had any caffeine. Except, I guess now we are having caffeine during the show. It's okay. I haven't had any yet. I usually drink coffee before yoga. Yeah.
It's before coffee takes its effect, so.
Yeah, it takes up at least 30 minutes for the coffee to hit in, and then this guy won't shut up.
We have a chatty Kathy doll.
I'm also a yapper, so I can't stop talking myself. Yeah.
Right now I won't shut up, already.
Okay. Anyways, let's get into these headlines for today's show. Coming out of Essex, 4-foot-long Caiman is seized as police search homes and 2 are arrested. And groundbreaking study finds Mars may once have had rain and snow.
And this is Roger from the United States, where more weird stories. Artificial intelligence solves one of archaeology's greatest puzzles. Plus, historians discover 200-year-old notes from students hidden inside school walls.
Speaking of students, Oxford academics used a cup made from a human skull at formal dinners until 2015. Brains.
Also, large creature with black eyes found at mine and discovered as new species. And airport authorities make jaw-dropping discovery after getting a tip about passengers' luggage. Ooh, what's the mystery?
In culture news, death to streamers. Can a New York video store start a revolution?
And it's National Take a Chance Day, so take a chance and stick around for an hour of fun and games and news on April 23rd, 2025 on Before Coffee. Oh, there goes a squirrel. Hey, squirrel.
Yeah, looking at some squirrels. The world is waking up over there on the East Coast, where it's already been awake here. And it looks like the weather's not great, honestly. Another cloudy day. Well, better than going dry like Mars.
Yeah, it's heating up here.
Yeah. Let's roll our segue. Also, hello, Omlin. Thank you for stopping by. I never knew I changed it to 47. Maybe I should keep it at 47.
47.
I thought I had it at 40, but now it's at 47. Okay, haiku. We need you to do a haiku for me.
Oh my goodness.
For this,
pen.
These first sets of stories, well, the first one is quite short, so I'll be surprised if you can make a haiku that quick. This is from Tara Cobham on The Independent. A 4-foot-long Caiman has been seized by police in a search of homes in Essex as 2 people were arrested on suspicion of drugs and weapon offenses, but their only offenses was having an animal. The animal, which has now been handed over to RSPCA, was among the items found by officers executing a warrant at an address in Avely near Grays on, I guess this was last Thursday, because it hasn't been Thursday yet, on the 17th of April. A significant cannabis haul and several weapons, including knives, were also discovered and seized. Oh no, not their cannabis! They're gonna get high and sit on the couch! They're a danger to society! 30-year-old man from Pure Fleet was arrested on suspicion of production of cannabis, contravention of Dangerous Wildlife Act, and possession of an offensive weapon. That knife offends me! While a 35-year-old woman was arrested for the same offenses, as well as suspicion of possession with intent to supply drugs, Essex police said. Oh man, they're dealing weed in Essex? Maybe you should just make it legal. Just an idea. What's Essex? Essex is a place in, I think, South England. It's very famous for their accent that they have, which I will not try to recreate. And I don't know. That's all I have to say about Essex. Sorry, I don't have any more factoids for you. Both have since been released under investigation. And there's a picture of the Cayman in, like, honestly, it doesn't look like it's being kept in great condition, so it's probably for the best. The animal was handed over. Inspector Dan Selby said, "Drugs cause misery in our communities, and we work hard to tackle the production and sale." Ah, yes. The misery of weed. Stop lying to yourself. We know this matter to the public, and we value our neighborhood, so these issues matter to us. Oh man, these people are doing crimes because we made something illegal. That doesn't need to be illegal. Mm-hmm. We're also ensuring the welfare of Cayman and have left it in the hands of the RCPCA. Caymans live in marshes, swamps, lakes, and mangrove rivers, not in your basement in Essex. The animals are native to Central and South America, so they're technically an invasive species, so maybe you shouldn't have one. Dinosaurs with weed. Yeah, that's basically what happened in this story. Did you have that in your haiku?
Yeah, I did actually work up a haiku.
All right, give it to me.
So I have a Cayman. It's a large lizard creature, not just an island. The Cayman Islands are very famous. Famous tax. Yeah. Where rich people hide their money in Cayman Island banks and don't have to pay any taxes on it. On the interest.
Okay, for my next story. Why does it keep on doing that? Stop that. Oh, great. That's going to mess up everything. I'm going to wait for that to interrupt my story now. Groundbreaking study finds Mars may once have rained in snow. This is from Vishwam Sankaran. On also The Independent. All my news is from The Independent today. They have all the weird stories I want. Mars may once have already had a relatively warm and wet climate conducive to flowing water and rain, snow, producing a terrain much different than the frigid wasteland we know today. A new study published on Monday, which was the 21st of April, in the Journal of Geophysical Research depicts a red planet where rivers rush down valleys to feed hundreds of lakes. There's evidence that some water existed on the surface of Mars around 4 billion years ago. Exactly where this water came from, however, remains a mystery. Some theories suggest the ancient Mars was likely always cold and dry with ice, in the early solar system when the sun was only about 75% as bright as snow. The theories state, Mars has sprawling ice caps. The ice caps, which cover the planet all the way to the equator, occasionally melted for short periods of time, producing water. So that's, the latest study tested warm and wet and cold and dry theories about ancient Mars using computer simulations. So the computers are telling us there might have been water and snow. And they're never wrong. This says how water might have shaped the surface of the planet billions of years ago. Yeah, I guess you can tell the difference between water and wind erosion when you look at craters and stuff. Like, this looks like a lake bed. Not really, a windy place that got destroyed. Or maybe they do look of that. Maybe they look the same after billions of years. Who knows? The researchers found the patterns of valleys and headwaters on Mars today were likely shaped by precipitation from snow or rain. You could pull up Google images of a place like Utah, zoom out, and you can see the similarities to Mars. That's why they usually film in Utah for Mars stuff. Said Amanda Steckel, an author of the study from the University of Colorado at Boulder. Very hard to make any kind of conclusive statement, she explained. But we see these valleys beginning a large range of elevations. It's hard to explain with just ice. Satellite images also reveal what could be fingerprints of water on the planet. I was here, written in water droplets. For example, vast networks of channels spreading from highlands near the Martian equator, branched like trees, and may have once emptied into lakes and even possibly an ocean. The site of such potential ancient lake is currently being explored by NASA's Perseverance rover. The researchers said a major river likely emptied into this region, depositing a delta on top of a crater for 4.1 billion to 3.7 billion years ago in the Noachian epoch. You need meters deep of flowing water to deposit these kinds of boulders, said Brian Hynek, an author of the study. The latest study tested this possibility using a digital version of the portion of the planet. The researchers modeled the evolution of this virtual landscape close to the Martian equator. In some other simulations, they added water from falling precipitation and melting ice caps to see how the terrain changed. They even let the virtual water flow for tens of hundreds of thousands of years and then assessed the terrain patterns that formed as a result. I do wonder if they're using the current Mars's gravity to do these simulations, because there possibly is a theory that Mars' gravitational pull changed over those billions of years, and maybe that's why they lost their atmosphere and are now a huge sand planet. Possible.
Although Mars has the same gravity as we do, roughly, so it ain't that bad.
Similar. It's similar gravity, but not the same.
Well, obviously not the same, but because we haven't even figured out.
Because I think it's different enough that you would feel it changes. Like if you went from one planet to the other, you'd be like, oh, it's kind of heavier here. I think it's heavier in Mars, or maybe it's lighter in Mars.
Gravity's like lightning or dark matter. We know it's there. We just don't know what the hell caused it.
Yeah. Of course, I just watched that film Interstellar, which is all about how they use gravity to talk to each other.
Right. We have a theory. There's a thing called gravitons, like the basic.
I wish this would just give me a straight answer of what the gravity on Mars is instead of.
Damn it, intelligent
it's
people.
It's about 38%. Why am I clicking different buttons? Stop doing that.
Let us know. I don't know. You're supposed to be reading a story.
Well, you're talking. Anyways, gravity of Mars is 38% of the gravity of Earth. So I didn't want to interrupt your point that you're saying.
Yeah, at least we don't bounce out into space like we would in the moon, right? We go too high, we ain't coming back.
No. That's why we can't find any. They just float away. In these scenarios, the researchers specifically analyzed where the headwaters feeding the branch valleys emerged. The different scenarios produce very different planets. When simulating melting ice caps, valley heads formed largely at high elevations, roughly around the edge of where the ancient ice sat. But when modeling rainfall, the Martian headwaters were much more widespread, forming at elevations ranging from below the planet's average surface to over 3,350 meters high. That's pretty high. Whereas ice caps seem to contribute to the valleys only around a narrow band of elevations, widespread rainfall could have valley heads forming everywhere, the researchers noted. Comparing their findings to actual data from Mars taken by NASA spacecrafts, the researchers found the simulations with rainfall lined up more closely with the real red planet. They cautioned, however, that while the results weren't final word on the planet's ancient climate, they could provide new insights into its history. Once the erosion from the flowing water stopped, Mars almost got frozen in time and probably still looks a lot like Earth did 3.5 billion years ago, Dr. Hynek said. Of course, 3.5 billion years ago, Earth was mostly just water, but like acidic water that only a few organisms could even live in. And then something happened, and that changed. And Earth got lucky.
Ultraviolet.
Whereas Mars did not get lucky and instead dried up like a prune. So.
I think it's because they don't have a magnetic field. I think that's just a secret to it. They don't have a real magnetic field. It doesn't protect them from gamma rays and so forth. So anything that wants to live there is going to get shot full of radiation. I mean, it's just that simple. That's all I got to say about that. Radiation is simply radio waves.
If you want to live in Mars, you're going to have to get used to living inside of a spacesuit, basically.
Right. And there's probably nuclear radiation all over the place, too, for all we know, right? It could be just exposed, Yeah, you definitely have to live in a spacesuit. There's no oxygen. Sorry. No oxygen. Maybe it's locked in the frozen ice somewhere, but you can't breathe ice.
Yet, we shall develop the technology to breathe ice.
This big chunk of air. Anyway. Oh, you want my haiku?
Yes, give me your haiku. I've already rolled my segue.
It's been like 10 minutes since I wrote it. It's a shout out to the talking heads. Mars, not a party, and it's not a disco. No fooling around. Anyway. Shout out to Life During Wartime by the Talking Heads. That's what that's directly from. This ain't no party. This ain't no disco. This ain't no fooling around. Okay, ready? Did you spin the wheel?
I spin the reel. I got alliteration headline.
Ooh, well, we got 2 stories, so maybe 2 headlines. And there, first one's a little bit longer. This is from dailygalaxy.com. Artificial intelligence solves one of archaeology's greatest puzzles. For over a century, the Nazca lines in Peru have puzzled archaeologists. The massive geoglyphs created by the Nazca people between 200 BC and 650 AD. If you've ever seen these drawings, they can only be seen from space or from an aircraft, right? You got to be hovering above them, and you see, wow, look at that massive drawing that somebody made. 200 BC, between 200 BC and 650 AD. Anyway, they cover vast areas of a desert depicting animals, plants, and tools. Many of these intricate designs, only visible from the sky, have long eluded full understanding. Now a collaboration between archaeologists and artificial intelligence, or AI as they would need to tell us what that means, has uncovered 303 new geoglyphs in just 6 months, doubling the known total. This breakthrough, made possible by AI, has provided fresh insights into the purpose of these lines, which were long debated. As reported by Science Focus, the discovery marks a significant leap forward in solving one of archaeology's greatest puzzles. Researchers, including Professor Masato Sakai from Yamagata University Institute of Nazca in Peru, have partnered with IBM scientists to teach AI how to analyze massive swaths of aerial imagery, identifying previously hidden geoglyphs. Amazing. These collaborations have significantly accelerated the process, making it possible to conduct surveys in a fraction of the time it would normally take. As Sakai explains, the ability to conduct survey in such a short period was thanks to the use of AI. AI is not only helping to identify more geoglyphs, but is also changing how archaeologists approach the study of ancient civilization. By processing aerial imagery, AI can spot patterns that might have otherwise gone unnoticed by the human eye, offering more efficient and precise way to map and understand historical remains. The success of the AI in the Nazca Desert is only beginning, as the technology is already being applied to other archaeological sites across the world, from burial mounds to shipwrecks. The Nazca lines represent one of the first successful uses of AI in archaeology. The lines, which are created by scraping away the top layer of soil to expose lighter colored material underneath, are intricate and precise, showcasing the Nazca's people's advanced understanding of geometry and proportion. Maria Riesch, a German mathematician and astronomer, spent decades studying the lines, noting their perfect proportions. Now AI is helping us uncover even more of these designs, shedding light on their possible meanings and functions. Historically, archaeologists relied on traditional methods such as ground surveys, photography, and manual mapping to study these ancient sites. However, as Dr. Joa Fonte, an archaeologist with Archaeology points out, archaeology is really at the forefront of innovation in terms of adopting digital tools. In addition to AI, archaeologists are now using photogrammetry and remote sensing technologies, allowing them to study vast areas more quickly and with greater accuracy. One of the most intriguing aspects of this AI-driven discovery is the potential to better understand the purpose of Nazca lines. Sakai's team suggests that many of the new geoglyphs were part of ritual walkways where individuals walk along the lines to engage with the landscape and commune with the gods. Of course, we're always gonna make up these things. They're all ignorant,
they must have been doing something illogical. They didn't know. They're idiots. What if they were just making a cool picture? Oh, you know what's cool? We can make a cool picture. Let's do it. And then that's it. The end.
I can't wait till I find an airplane that these guys built.
Right?
Oh, what? Say that.
Yeah.
I think they were flying. They were flying to communicate with the gods. Yeah, anyway, AI's ability.
No, they would be like, "There's no way this was able to get to the air. There were no way they were flying in those airplanes. This is a temple to the god Aerotech, who was he was shaped this way, you see, so that's why the planes are all shaped the same. There's no way they were flying through the sky."
Right, exactly. The AI system's ability to process large data sets and identify geoglyphs that may have previously gone unnoticed opens up a new possibilities for understanding the Nazca civilization's connection with their environment, as well as their advanced knowledge of spatial design and astronomy. I think they just learned how to harness the power of these giant flying birds, right? And they were able to ride on the backs of them, like in the the never-ending story, right?
Yeah.
The AI, while AI has already revolutionized the study of Nazca lines, the technology has a vast potential for future archaeology. Dr. Alexandra Karamitro, an AI archaeology expert at the University of Southampton, is developing tools that could help archaeologists identify a wider range of historical sites. Her work demonstrates that AI can not only detect visible features like geoglyphs, but also interpret complex relationships between those sites and other environmental factors, such as their proximity to water or their population on a hill slope. The applications of AI in archaeologists extend beyond geoglyphs and ancient art. We have to put this on Mars, right? If they find a geoglyph on Mars, then we might have something, right? In 2023, researchers from the United Arab Emirates used AI to analyze satellite data from Saruq al-Hadid site, a copper smelting center from 12,700 to 800 BC. AI provided insights into the distribution of artifacts and helped archaeologists prioritize excavation efforts. The technology could also assist in studying sunken shipwrecks, buried cities, and even climate change impacts on ancient sites. Despite the promising results, AI is not infallible. Sakai's team had to manually verify AI's predictions, scrutinizing dozens of suggestions for each new geoglyph. Of course, they had to. AI isn't perfect, especially in archaeology, says Dr. Karamitru, but in a few years' time, we might be able to develop algorithms with very good accuracy, helping people save time, energy, and money. As AI technology approaches, we expect it to become even more accurate, even allowing archaeologists to explore more areas with fewer resources. The ability to automate the detection of sites could drastically increase the speed and scope of archaeological research, uncovering hidden treasures and unlocking the secrets of ancient civilizations. There's your story. Now that story needs a headline. What's that headline say?
All right, Nazca lines not noteworthy.
Not noteworthy?
No, I don't think they're important at all. I think it's just, wow, there must be some special secret thing.
So I wasted my time.
Have you ever seen
Don't
people...
you want to know how the hell?
Have you ever seen Edward Scissorhands? He just liked cutting those bushes into different shapes, you know?
Yeah. Well, yeah, the purpose of them is open to interpretation, but the fact that they exist is amazing, and the fact that they could actually make these designs, though, you know, there had to be somebody up there going, yeah, well, you know, that hand's a little long, maybe you ought to make it a little shorter. Somebody up in the sky, maybe they invent hot air balloons, maybe they discovered a source of helium and had hot air balloons, you know. It's just mind-boggling that these things exist, actually.
It is indeed wacky and weird, for sure.
Anyway. And the next story, historians discover 200-year-old notes from students hidden in school walls. I didn't know you have two stories, my bad. A shorter story, I promise you. This is from local12.com. Apparently it's a news source, WKRC somewhere. While renovating a 200-year-old academy building, workers found a treasure trove of secret notes and doodles from students in the early 1800s. This is in southern Maine, okay. It's in Gorham, Maine, while renovating a 200-year-old academy building, okay. The building, constructed in 1806, originally acted as a private high school, but was eventually absorbed into the University of Southern Maine as a campus grew around it. As part of a multi-year-long renovation project of the building, construction workers ripped up rotten wood floors and walls, uncovering a bounty of old letters and papers. The notes date as far back as the early 1800s when the building was first opened, and mostly consisted of notes that students were not supposed to be passing in class. This is sort of like text messages or Snapchats they're sending in the middle of class that they shouldn't be. Well, thanks for that information, dude. I think people still know what notes are, okay? If we don't know what notes are anymore,
we've got to explain notes to Gen Z and Alpha. They don't know what writing is.
What's this flat white stuff? It's got two sides. What do we do? Do we eat it? I don't know. That was my acting for today. Do you want to meet me down by the swing, or should we take a walk? These sorts of things. It's really about the social life of students. Well, that's kind of a boring, no? Do you want to meet me down by the swing? Then we'll smoke a J. Anyway. We also have I love this, said the school's coordinator of special collections, Susie Bach. It's a little discussion, a little mini essay on apple blossoms and how lovely they are. Bischoff said that the notes aren't just love letters and plans after class, but include drawings and absent-minded doodles as well. There's also really funny caricatures of teachers sort of focusing on the prominent features like big noses. Man, if you're a teacher and you got a big nose, you're just opening yourself up. It's like, there's my big nose. Let me watch the kids draw doodles about it. Anyway, Bach said that although the collection is lighthearted and humorous, it's also an important window into what life was like 200 years ago. She has been working on cleaning and preparing the notes for exhibition and possible digitization, so that others can come to their own conclusions about what the notes meant. You just scan them. That's not so hard. I'm working on the digitization of them. You just got to scan some papers. Interpretation of the primary sources is going to change, but that's why it's important to keep the primary resources. It's an important piece of keeping history from being erased.
Paper does disintegrate really easily.
Yep, that's true. Plus, the photos of a scanner, the lights of a scanner does fade the image slowly. Headline time.
Okay.
Got a headline.
Let's see. Notes near nonsense.
Okay.
I'm really
it's
not.
Like you're patching these together. You're patching these together at the end when I remind you.
I am. Why would I think about this stuff while you're reading your story? I'm listening to what you're saying. Also, I'm doing other things in the background. I'm not just sitting here looking at the wall like you do.
Here's a pro tip. First thing you do should be the headline, and then you can move on.
I have other things. Right? I'm busy. Remember, you added the segues, not me. I never agreed with that.
It ain't that hard to come with 3 words and start with the same
All right, your next segue is a
You're doing it at the end, which proves how easy it is.
And for our next
haiku
story,
again?
We're doing... Yeah, that's what I rolled, a haiku. Oxford academics.
Okay.
Drinking out of human skulls. This is from Andy Gregory. Oxford University academics use a chalice made from a human skull potentially belonging to an enslaved Caribbean woman at formal dinners until as recently as 2015, a new book has alleged. The chalice, created from a sawn-off skull, adorned with a silver rim and a stand, was used for decades as a drinking cup in the senior common room at the Worcester College, according to Professor Dan Hicks, curator of the World Archaeology of the University of Pitt Rivers Museum. It was eventually repurposed to serve chocolates instead of wine after it began to leak, said Professor Hicks. The item's shameful history is detailed in his forthcoming book, Every Monument Will Fall, which explores the colonial origins of contemporary conflicts and the theft of ancestral human remains, and turning them into goblets. Right, that's the part that's wrong here. Who did the skull belong to? Some no-named victim of colonialism who will never get their remains buried in near their other people that they like. You know what? I'm gonna change all your heads into goblets and see how you like it. The ritual of Worcester College was phased out in response to a mounting dismay among fellows and guests. In 2019, the college invited Professor Hicks to investigate the chalice's origins. He told The Guardian, these guys didn't even know where it came from. Oh yeah, I just found a skull one day and I turned it into a cup. Labour MP Belle Roberto Addy, who chairs in cross-party parliamentary groups on the African reparations, told the outlet, "It is sickening to think of Oxford dons sitting in the bastion of privilege, itself enshrined by proceeds of centuries of colonial violence and extraction, swilling drink out of a human skull that may have belonged to an enslaved person and have been so valued that has been turned into an object." Yeah, they didn't even try to remember his name. Oh, this is Charlie. Nothing. Just, the skull. Noting the identities of colonial victims were often erased from history as a result of racist ideas about British and white supremacy, with this forming a part of the dehumanization and violence, Professor Hicks said he'd been unable to find any record of who the skull belonged to. But carbon dating showed the skull came from around 225 years old, and its size and circumstantial evidence suggests it came from the Caribbean and may have belonged to an enslaved woman, he said. Worcester College insists that the latter suggestion cannot be sustained. That's true, there's not actually a lot of good silence in looking at the phenotology of skulls. That was the whole problem with racists back in like the 1800s. They were like, I'm going to determine your worth as a human being due to your skull shape. Not very accurate, actually. Not accurate at all, but you know. You can't substantiate that this was actually from the Caribbean. It just fits similar genetic skulls from the Caribbean. That's about it.
Right. We would probably derive that RFK Jr. was an intelligent species, but then, you know.
Conversely, the chalice's ownership was thoroughly documented, with alterations to the item providing an example of how the legacies of empire persist, Professor Hicks told The Independent. Silver hallmarks suggest the skull was made into a chalice in the city of London in 1838. Okay, so at least they have hallmarks on the silver. They can do that, but they can't say, oh, what's her name? Whose skull is this? Ah, just from some slave. Okay, we're not going to ask any more questions then.
I don't care. Insignificant.
It was the same year as Queen Victoria's coronation and of the emancipation of enslaved people in British colonies. Ah, interesting. So, enslaved people were freed in British colonies in 1838, and that same year, somebody was like, you're not going to take my slaves away. I'm going to turn mine into a skull goblet. That'll show them.
Skull goblet.
I don't know. I'm just making up a story.
That was the name of my punk band in college, Skull Goblet.
But, I mean, let's be honest. People who dehumanize other human beings aren't smart. And they would do something that petty. It was sold in auction in 1884 by Bernard Smith, an Oxford graduate who had collected weaponry and armor. Professor Hicks believes the Smiths may have been gifted the chalice by his father, who served in the Caribbean as a Royal Navy commander at the time of the abolition of slave trade in the British Empire. The chalice was purchased for £5 and 5 shillings by the Victorian soldier and archaeologist Augustus Pitt Rivers, who found the Oxford Museum bearing his name in 1884. The Sotheby's auction listing showed it had a wooden stand inlaid with Queen Victoria's shilling and a Greek inscription carved into the bone. The shilling is no longer there, and the broken wooden stand had been replaced with a silver one, but the inscription remains. What does the inscription say? Black people suck, and they will all be slaves? I don't know. Tell me what the inscription says.
It's probably something in Latin.
Yeah.
Something in Latin.
Well, it said in Greek. But we know what Greek is. We can read Greek.
Or Greek,
yeah. The chalice was finally donated to Oxford in 1946.
It was a fraternity house.
Yeah, maybe. By the archaeologist's grandson, the eugenicist. Here we go. I knew this was going to come up. A eugenicist. Of course, there's a eugenicist in the skull story. Surprise! George Pitt Rivers, in what Professor Hicks described as one of the first acts of being released from his internment during the Second World War, as a Nazi. He was a Nazi and a eugenicist. Wow, you're really catching all the things. The guy who gave Oxford the skull, he didn't make it, but he put it there. He become this weird racist thing, was a Nazi and a eugenicist. Surprise. And he was also a follower of the British fascist Oswald Mosley. Fascist, Nazi, eugenicist, all the things you expected in the story, all here. The young Pitt Rivers inscribed his name on the chalice's rim, echoing that of his grandfather, which is carved above the entrance to the Oxford Base Museum at which Professor Hicks works. So, his father, who may or may not have been a eugenicist or Nazi, because it didn't say if Augustus Pitt Rivers was, but his son was definitely those things. And as some sort of claim to fame, he put his name on the skull. Be like, yeah, that's me. I'm part of the Pitt Rivers family, you know, the people who made this university. And this is my skull.
I'm a big hero.
Look at the inlays here. This proves that Caribbeans suck. He's a eugenicist, that's what he would say. As well as seeking to give some degree of humanity to the woman to whom the skull belonged by piecing together a story, Professor Hicks said the overall aim of the book is to ask whether this anomaly, or whether this is a wider conversation we need to have about humans and ancestral means in our museums and universities. Yes. Don't read the book. The answer is yes. You should question every single bone you have in your possession, just like you should question every single artifact you have, right? Oh, you stole that artifact from us when we were a colony and we were all enslaved and had no rights. Can we have it back now, please? The British Museum? No, it's safer with us. All right, your English sensibilities have determined what's safer for society. Of course.
I'm just... Grave robbing was a big thing in back... Well, anyway,
yeah.
Interrupting your story.
Grave robbing. That's true.
It's always a big thing, especially in scientific research.
You can also always sell those bones to those archaeologists. Professor Hicks, people that, one thing though is that this skull, at least at all the records they can find, this skull had already been turned into a cup. Right, so they don't know the history before it got turned into a cup. The farthest history they have is it was a cup.
Frat boy.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's a frat boy at Oxford. Just like
it was made in the Caribbean. The stamp on the silver said it was made in the Caribbean. So made in the Caribbean in 1838. That's what it says. Oh no, sorry, it was made in the city of London in 1838. Yeah, it could have been a frat boy stealing skulls.
There you go. Yeah. I'm saying it's a frat boy. Well, the Skull and Bone Society of Yale, for instance, they have a human skull, and it's part of their rituals. You know.
But do they know who it is?
Back to you.
I'm fine with them having people owning skulls. Why?
It's a grave robbing extravaganza. Because people used to rob graves for whatever reason, for jewelry, gold, whatever. You know?
I understand that used to happen, but it's still shitty. As an Oxford University spokesperson said, Worcester College can confirm it in the possession of a vessel which is made from part of a human skull of unknown origin. The item was given to the college in 1946 by a former student, George Pitt Rivers, who died in 1966. Good he died. In the 20th century, the vessel was sometimes on display with the college's silver collection and used as tableware. The college does not hold records of how often this was the case, but it was severely limited after 2011, and the vessel was completely removed 10 years ago. The college's governing body sought expert scientific and legal advice to address whether the item should be retained, and if not, how it should be disposed of appropriately. DNA testing was unable to identify the geographic or ethnic origin of the skull, and as such, the suggestion that the skull is that of an enslaved woman from the Caribbean cannot be substantiated. Yeah, I'm fine with it not being that, but seeing as a eugenicist was carrying it around, probably wasn't somebody they liked. It was definitely not somebody they liked. You know, this is my best friend Bill. He wanted to be turned into a skull goblet, okay?
That's right.
You know?
That's right.
It was his last dying wish. Drink wine out of me when I die. As a result of this advice, the college resolved that the item should be stored in the college archives in a respectful manner, with access to it permanently denied. As Dr. Hicks acknowledges in his book, the college has dealt with this issue ethically and thoughtfully. I think you should bury it in some ground somewhere and say, here is buried a sad skull that got turned into a goblet, and end it there. Just put it in the ground. Let the worms have it. Or burn it into ashes. Just burn the whole thing.
Right. No.
We're missing out on the archaeology and history of human skulls as goblets if we burn it into ash. I know. Archaeologists are crying. We can't. It's a important artifact.
Preserve it. Say it's the king of all the world's skull, and then put it in a museum.
I think they should just burn it into ash.
Is that ready for the haiku, or is
yeah, let's go.
Okay, here's your haiku. Do you want a drink? I have a shrunken head cup. Yes, the brain is gone. There's your haiku.
Oh my god, this is so awful, man. It's like the thing I get with English people being this barbaric is that they're like, oh, we were the ultimate point of civilization in like whatever the 1700s or whatever. You know, everyone needs to be like us. We're gonna colonize the world and tell them this is how you need to act. Then they turn people's heads into goblets, man.
This is found at Oxford, with the institution of higher education.
No, I mean, like I said, it's not him. It was somebody in London. There's there's no confirmation that the person who made this skull goblet was from Oxford. It's only that it got donated to Oxford later. Okay.
Oh, okay. I'm just saying it's likely that that's the source. It's
likely it was definitely somebody from London, maybe definitely an English person.
From my own biases and prejudice, I say it's a frat boy. Is there no story?
Nope, that's it. I'm going to roll a segue and then we can get to yours.
I have done 4 haikus in the last 2 days. I just want you to know that. All right, so large creature. Let's do the thing. What'd you get?
I got Limerick.
Limerick. Wow, you always get Limerick, don't you? Okay, this is from the MiamiHerald.com. A large creature with black eyes found at mine and discovered as new species. As our 2 weird stories involve animals. This is from Aspen Pflugeroft from the MiamiHerald.com. Pflugeroft. 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 There you go. Scientists found a large creature with black eyes at a mining site in Papua New Guinea and discovered a new species, the study says. Yeah. On a small island in Papua New Guinea, a large creature moved around in a mining site, its black eyes scanning the surroundings. Something about the mat animal caught the attention of passing scientists, and for a good reason. It turned out to be a new species. Well, it's not new. It's just we discovered it. It's been there the whole time. Fred Krause visited Mycema Island as part of a large project to survey the region's reptile diversity. His efforts were focused on a group of tree-dwelling snakes with a historical confusing classification system. He wrote in a study published April 4th in the peer-reviewed journal Zootaxa. During his visit, Krause found several large snakes with white chins, the study said. Intrigued, he took a closer look at the animals, compared them with other known species, and soon realized he discovered a new species, Dendrolepis atra, or the Ultras tree snake. As Dendrolepis atra, or the tree snake. That's what it's called, okay? Atras tree snakes are considered moderately large, reaching about 4 feet 1 inch in length. The study said they have black eyes and matte black coloring. The photo captions here. Unlike other related species, Atras tree snakes darken in color as they age. Krause said a smaller, younger snake with gray-brown hue, while older, larger snakes were uniformly black. Atra tree snakes were found around villages and gardens, or on a rainforest ridge, and at severely degraded human-modified habitats at a mine site, including alongside a building, Krause wrote. Much about the species' lifestyle remains unknown. So far, the new species has only been found at Mycema Island off the southeastern coast of mainland Papua New Guinea, the study shows. A video shared on YouTube in 2020 by TVWAN online shows the island. Okay. The new species was identified by size, coloring scale, pattern, and genitalia. The study did not include a DNA analysis. Well, maybe you ought to get on top of that. Krause discovered 3 more species of snakes, one each on Rossel Island, Studis Island, and Woodlark Islands. Looks like he found a lot of snakes. Anyway, there's your snake story. You don't necessarily have to have a limerick for that.
I do have one.
There it is. You do. All right.
All right.
There's another story coming.
Where was I? Okay.
That was not 4 to 5 minutes.
This tree snake, a wonder to see, lurked in shadows, wild and free. No one knew its name till the miners came to have unearthed this marvel of glee. So there you go.
Marvel of glee.
Hey, I like snakes. I have no problem with snakes. I'm not scared of them or anything.
Right. Unless they're rattlesnakes and they're going to kill you. That's a thing you want to fear.
Well, they warn you before they're going to kill you. That's their cool thing about rattlesnakes.
That's true. Well, and Culber's even warn you to do that little, that little thing where they inflate their back of their head or whatever. The cooldown.com has a story about airport authorities make jaw-dropping discovery after getting a tip about passengers' luggage. This one's an even stranger story. This is from Yai Ling Ma from thecooldown.com. And it says, imagine the shock and horror on the faces of Indian airport officials when they open the passengers' luggage to find live animals being smuggled across international borders. Late last month, customs officials at the Kempegowda International Airport, an international airport serving Bengaluru, India, intercepted 24-year-old, oh my, this name, Vinaya Gomorthi Kodasvaran and his luggage upon landing in KIA from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. It reported the airport official received the tip-off and searched his luggage, finding 4 siamangs and 2 northern pig-tailed macaques inside of them. That's right, these are primates. These South Asian primates, whose conservation statuses are endangered and vulnerable, respectively, were found in cardboard boxes inside 2 large suitcases, expecting to be passed off to Kodas Baran's handler, known as Ansari. The airport officials suspected that these trafficked primates were headed to a private zoos in India. According to the official, the bust was a violation of India's Wildlife Protection Act of 1972 and the Convention of International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora, or the CITES. Really? The Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora is an acronym that's CITES. That makes no sense. Both stipulations regulating the import and trade of certain wildlife species in India. Punishable offenses carry an imprisonment term of up to 7 years. Per the Hindu, the rescued primate, the Hindu is their source, I guess, newspaper, I guess. The rescued primates will be sent back to Malaysia while officials continue to uncover the rest of the associated wildlife trafficking network. Why is wildlife trafficking concerning? Wildlife trafficking, or illegal transport of protected or managed wildlife species across borders, is dangerous on many levels. For one, wildlife trafficking usually targets endangered or rare species, as seen in this case, which removes wildlife from their natural habitats and pushes them closer to extinction. Biodiversity loss, driven by human actions like illegal removal of wildlife and habitat destruction, such as deforestation, disrupts food chains and can upset entire ecosystems. If these wildlife species are successfully brought into new space, they could still pose a threat to the ecological balance of the new habitat, overtaking the space as invasive species. Many of these trafficked animals also do not survive transport because of the horrible conditions they are transported in, such as these eastern box turtles. The eastern box turtles that were squished into boxes of almonds and chocolate cookies. Wildlife trafficking is on the rise globally. In Latin America, reports estimated there are between 2,000 wildlife seizures and poaching incidents between 2017 and 2022. Interpol and the World Customs Organization seized nearly 20,000 live animals. Wildlife trafficking happens domestically and across international borders. In some cases, the animals are headed to zoos where they support business generated from wildlife tourism. As an individual, you can help limit wildlife trafficking by not supporting these businesses that profit from trafficked animals. Report them, for God's sake. The red flags may not always be obvious, but pay attention to the businesses allow direct contact with the wildlife, or if the animals seem unhappy or kept in poor conditions. Do your due diligence when researching these wildlife sites and use your voice to advocate against suspicious businesses. There you go, there's a handy tip at the end. Stop trying to make people impressed with your stupid animal collections, you rich assholes. Anyway, there's your story.
Stupid animal collections, indeed.
Yeah.
All right, my next limerick.
You have a limerick for the macaques.
Their tiny cages were locked with might. The smuggler thought he'd escape in flight, but customs officials were keen and foiled his plan unseen. They seized the goods and brought him to light. So there you go, another person in an airport trying to smuggle creatures for whatever dangerous tales they want. I like how the article started. It's like, oh, they weren't gonna get caught up. They got a hint. It's like, I'm pretty sure it's almost impossible. I mean, people must be succeeding. Otherwise, why are people trying? I don't know.
Right, because you can make money at it, right? it's like I can make a lot of money if I smuggle these things into the country, and this guy's gonna give me 10,000.
But have they met somebody who's like, I successfully did it, or are they just lying? You know, oh, I made 200 grand smuggling animals to the airport. Oh, really? I'm gonna try. Actually, he never did.
And it only makes news. It only makes news when you catch them.
Yeah, that's true.
Obviously, there's people getting through, and maybe more than half get through, right? So considering we catch 20,000 since 2017, 20,000 are getting through. Think about that. So.
That's a lot. Yeah, that is a lot of things. All right, I rolled hypothetical, so you have to give me a hypothetical question or scenario or whatever for this next story, which is about something you were alive for, something I was alive for too, to be fair. Video stores. This is from J. Oliver Conroy. On The Guardian, they trickle in by twos and threes. Spiritual seekers to a temple long thought gone. The video store. Some of these acolytes are sentimental for the days of Blockbuster and famed New York institutions like Kim's Video. Others are so young that Blu-ray discs, DVDs, and VHS tapes represent novelty, not nostalgia. Wow, look at these! It's just like when the records came back, right? Oh wow, records are so cool! And you're like, I was born when these were invented. Records are, well, yeah. Either way, they're here at a small, freshly painted storefront in Brooklyn to buy movies that you hold in your hand, store on a shelf, and watch whenever you'd like. The powerful but fickle newer gods of Netflix, Hulu, and Prime be damned. Just in time for Easter, the physical video store had risen again. That's great. This month, Night Owl Video in Williamsburg became New York City's first new physical video store in a long time. The store's provocative slogan is, "Death to streamers! Physical media forever." I've lamented for years that this type of place doesn't exist. Aaron Hamel, who co-founded Night Owl with his friend Jess Mills, said, "I used to love going to Kim's Video and Videology and all that. Still very nostalgic. I think there is value to a place where you browse the shelves for movies." Yeah, that's kind of what I miss too. There's something about going to a library and like, oh, I don't know what to read or I don't know what to watch. Oh, look, there's just a random shelf here. Let me pick something random. You can't really do that on the internet. You can do something like, tell me what to watch right now, but it's not really random, right? It's built by an algorithm or things you've been looking at, right? Your own algorithm itself in your search parameters will say, well, you seem to really like Lord of the Rings, so you watch all of these films. Like, maybe I don't want to watch a Lord of the Rings copycat. But, yeah, now, if I want to watch a film, I just scroll through my shorts until I get one of those, like, clips from a film. Like, okay, I'm going to watch that. There you go. Whatever that is. We're watching it. That's why I finally watched Interstellar last weekend. Because it was on my shorts. I was like, oh, an Interstellar clip. Oh, I should watch that. I've never seen it. And it made me cry.
I like the movie, although the acting in it was... Matthew McConaughey's acting was just like he was reading the lines. I'm sorry.
And I agree with you. His character was too much him that it kind of put me off. I was like, this is just Matthew McConaughey. That's just him.
Yeah, it's just like Matthew McConaughey. Yeah, it just seemed like he's just him dryly reading lines and like, this is kind of just like he's doing this and this as a side business or something. You know? Overpaid me for this movie. I better read my lines. You know, it's like I'm not even. That's a good movie, but it's like, man, they could have got a better actor.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Kim's rental inventory reopened in 2022 as an attraction in Alamo Drafthouse Lower Manhattan Cinema. Some Barnes & Noble locations in New York also sell Blu-ray discs and DVDs. To Hamill and Mill's knowledge, however, Night Owl is the only freestanding video boutique in New York. Part of the appeal of reviving the video store, Mills said, is the community. She and Hamill met while they were working on an indie film labeled Trauma. I love seeing someone pick up a title and another customer say, "Hey, that's a really good one," she said. It inspires people to watch something that they might not have. These streaming platforms are feeding you an algorithm of what to watch. They're not giving you real suggestions, but if you get 20 movie lovers in a room, that knowledge is just blossomed. Of course, you can also try that other video site, which I can't think of the name right now, but they also are an algorithm-less place where you can look up movies to watch without anybody. Letterboxd, I think it was? I think it's Letterboxd. Yeah, Letterboxd just has lists. And you don't have to worry about your algorithm taking over and say, we suggest you watch this newest show that just came out, which is what Netflix does.
I really wish this trend towards older technology is not swallowed up by big corporations.
Oh,
like
it definitely
most
is going to be.
trends are.
That they always go where the money's
Yeah.
going. So if it makes money and it's successful, people are going to want
It needs to be a
do it.
local business, locally sourced business type stuff, right? Because
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like CDs. If you take care of them, will last forever. Same with DVDs, right? You can resell them, you can trade them, you can whatever. You know, that's this kind of thing I would think this would spawn instead of like, I'm a big corporation, I can print CDs and make shitloads of money. You know, that kind of crap.
Well, the other problem is that there are a lot of companies, a lot of production companies that want to copyright even physical media. So they don't like that people are, you know, having DVDs and burning CDs and stuff like that. Because now they can't take it away from you. Because that's why this new trend in physical media is even happening. Because there's companies out there like Amazon, for example, or Netflix who just remove. You can buy a movie on Amazon to own forever. Okay. And then they can lose the licensing and delete your purchase. So you spent $20 on a movie that you can never watch again because they lost the license. Whereas if you spent $20 on a DVD, nobody's gonna come to your house and say, "Sorry, we lost the licensing distribution. We're taking that away from you." They can't do that, right? So.
Well, again, the hypothetical, which I guess will work my hypothetical into this, was the original CDs, right, were not technically good, right? Because companies figured out, like when the CDs first come out, well, we can get the master tapes, right? We can get the master acetates, they call it, these big, long, real, you know, analog acetates of the original recording, and we can make a CD directly off of that, and it will sound great. However, the original rush to make CDs was like, get a copy, any copy, make a CD out of it, and get it to market.
Yeah.
Who cares how much noise is in the background, right? And that's what the first CDs were. They were just noisy shit. It's like,
something I could have made myself.
Worse than the album. Yeah. So it depends on the original. So again, there's going to be a lot of bootlegging out there. Just people getting the album and making a freaking CD out of it. Exactly. I could do that. I could do it today. I could burn an album into a CD and put it out in the market. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
But that's the thing, right? People are trying to escape. I say people. Corporations are trying to escape this piracy bootlegging thing, and they just never will. As long as stuff exists, you can share them, and you should want people to share them. And it's very weird. They just want to control all the goods and the art and keep it locked up in a box you can only purchase for $20.
Maybe I wasn't clear, but I'm saying the original CDs, a lot of them were copyrighted. The people that own the copyrights put out these shitty versions of the analog stuff instead of using the master tapes, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I understand.
It's like, rush the market, make some money, get out. You know, that's what
they're basically doing what bootleggers do with their own copyrighted material. This pitch may find you a receptive audience in Williamsburg. Night Owl's location on Grand Street is right next to a board game store and not far from a comic book and record shop and other geek meccas. So if you would like to go to a place, go to Williamsburg, and now they're going to get gentrified. Everyone's going to move there. That's so cool, a young woman said as she entered Night Owl on the recent Thursday afternoon, which I guess was last Thursday, the 17th of April. As she entered, a young man departed without buying anything, but murmured, good to know, to his companion. Despite its reputation as a city of cinephiles, New York has not been immune to the economic trends that have shuttered video stores across the United States, Britain, and other countries. Streaming and video on-demand services have steadily undermined physical media for years, and last year, U.S. sales of physical video discs fell below $1 billion for the first time since 2013. According to industry data and reporting by Variety, increasingly few Americans even own a dedicated DVD or Blu-ray player, though some video game consoles play film discs. Yet, physical media has had a modest renaissance in recent years. Some movie buffs have found their way back to physical formats such as Blu-ray, the DVD's higher definition successor, and 4K Blu-ray, an even higher definition format considered the final format of home theater. What? Why not go to 8K, 16K? Just keep going. Physical media is unlikely to ever regain its heights as it had in the heyday of VHS and DVD, but enthusiasts hope it may achieve the kind of surprise second life that vinyl records have since the late 2000s. In 2022, more vinyl records were sold than CDs, according to a music industry trade group. Of course, it helps that CDs are doing this, and records are staying probably stable. So if the CDs keep it going, collapsing down, you're going to have more vinyl records.
Yeah. Of course, the technology is a reason. You cannot duplicate a vinyl record. You just can't. So any citizen can burn a CD. Just get an old computer with a CD drive.
Hamill used to run a record label. I feel like physical media movies are where vinyls was maybe 15 or 20 years ago, he said. Although the landscape is tough, new video stores, or in some cases non-profit video libraries, have opened in recent years in New Orleans, Calgary, Baltimore, and Worcester, Massachusetts, and boutique retailers such as Atomic Movie Store, Orbit DVD, Diabolic DVD, and Grindhouse Video seem to have no shortage of online business. 5 or 6 patrons pursued Night Owl's selection of Blu-rays, 4K Blu-rays, DVDs, VHS tapes, and laser discs, as several linked televisions around the store screened Ed Wood, the 1994 Tim Burton film, from a laserdisc player. A life-sized Halloween skeleton sat in an armchair near the door. Night Owl sells new and used movies from cinephilic Blu-ray labels such as Criterion, Radiance, Severin, Vinegar Syndrome, Kino Lorber, 88 Films, and Umbrella, as well as film-related books, posters, and vinyl soundtracks. Currently, the shop only sells video, though Hamill Mills may be offering more in the future. Buying collectible physical films at a retail price isn't cheap. Most new Blu-rays at Night Owl cost $20 to $40, but customers seem willing to entertain physical media's value proposition. I mean, you're spending way more on Netflix every year. I think around 550 people attended Night Owl's soft launch, Mills estimated. It just warms my little goth heart. She and Hamill have had to reorder stock because of brisk sales. Bailey Blake, 22, Avashare, 23, and Leah Calixto, 22, came to Night Owl from the Bronx and Washington Heights after hearing about the store on Instagram. The 3 saw recent college graduates had studied film at Sarah Lawrence. I don't have a lot of physical DVDs or anything like that, Sharahe said. This is going to be my first foray into it. I don't want to have to pay so much for so many streaming services when I could just own something, you know? So Sharahe bought a John Waters film that included the interactive scratch and sniff feature. Yep, that sounds about right. That sounds like a film student to me. I'm a film student. I'm going to buy a John Waters film. All right. Be a little more stereotypical, won't you? Blake brought a vinyl soundtrack to The Color of Money. Calixto was looking at Blood In, Blood Out, a Chicano crime epic she loved from childhood. Part of the draw of physical media for movie fans, the 3 friends said, was the difficulty of finding many beloved or important films on streaming. Yep, you've got that loss of media that's happening. Oh, nobody recorded this and digitized it, so now it's gone forever. Mills echoed the argument and added that streaming platforms have also become more expensive, contain intrusive ads, and aggressively promote their own original content rather than curate cinematic gems. Hamill jumped in. When you buy digital, you're not buying the film, he said. You're buying a license to watch the film, which they can revoke at any time. When you buy something on Blu-ray, you'll have it forever. So there you go. There's your story on the rise of video stores in New York, at least the one video store in New York. Maybe I'll open up a video store and that nobody will buy from.
I already did my hypothetical, which was
all right, then I'll roll the wheel.
Once people discover that you can do this at home for free, there's going to be all kinds of terrible bootlegs out there.
So to be fair, there's already terrible bootlegs on pirating websites if you know where to look. So people recording the film straight in the theater, with people's heads in the way and coughing.
But if you're spending cash money and you want to own the movie, you don't want a bootleg, is what I'm saying. You want the freaking high quality shit. Oh, I got a Blu-ray player, and you put it in there and it won't play,
All right, well, into this day in history for my alliteration headline again.
Oh my God, this day in history alliteration headline. And this day, we'll try to rush through this as we're working on an 1.5-hour show today. We're going to speed dial through this one. All right, maybe not. This day in history on April 23rd is today? Yeah, April 23rd. April 23rd, upon the death of King Eldred II of England, his son claimed the throne as Edmund II. Ethelred II's son was Edmund II, and that would happen in 1016. Jumping way ahead to 1635, the Boston Grammar School, later the Boston Latin School, open to all boys regardless of social class, was founded the first public school in what would become the United States. It set a precedent for tax-supported public education, which doesn't exist anymore. It's basically tax, what do you want to call it, blackmail, federal blackmail to make you teach church in school, that kind of thing. That's what's going on now. You must have religion in school because nobody can come up with a reason. They just say society's degraded because religion isn't in school. And I'm like, give me some proof. It's like saying the consumption of ice cream causes shark attacks because, shark attacks and ice cream consumption go up at the same time in July. So they're obviously related. Anyway. And 1791, James Buchanan was the 15th U.S. president, was born in Mercersburg, Pennsylvania. So happy birthday to James Buchanan, the only bachelor president. Sneaky the Clown only acts like a bachelor president. 1858, German physicist Max Planck, who originated the quantum theory, was born in Kiel, K-I-E-L. I think it's got to be Kiel. He's on an even keel, he is. 1906, Russian Tsar Nicholas II promulgated the fundamental laws, which marked the end of unlimited autocracy, but fell short of reforms promised in the October Manifesto. Now, if he would have just kept his word, they wouldn't have had to have a communist revolution. They would have prevented that completely. 1914, Wrigley Field hosted its first Major League Baseball game, so Wrigley Field's 101 today. The stadium later became the home of the Chicago Cubs, and it's still standing, one of your older stadiums that still plays games every day, along with Fenway Park in Boston. I don't think there's any more of the old parks left, just those two. In 1931, the American film classic The Public Enemy was released in theaters, and James Cagney's landmark performance as a gangster made him a star. You dirty rat. I can't do James Cagney. Anyway, 1936, American singer Roy Orbison was born in Vernon, Texas, known for his soaring voice and his carefully crafted ballads of loneliness and heartache. By the way, I forgot to send up a video today, so we're going to be sans video, unless you can come up with one to send me.
You can.
Maybe we can come with a Roy Orbison video since it's his birthday. I don't know. In 1976, the American punk band The Ramones, which was hugely popular, hugely influential in the rise of punk rock, released its first eponymous debut album. Of course, eponymous just means they named it after themselves, so it's called The Ramones. It was the first, anyway, the Ramones released their first album, so punk rock took hold on this day in 1976. 1984, U.S. Secretary of Health and Human Services Margaret Heckler announced that researchers had found what was believed to be the viruses that cause AIDS. The infectious agent was later named HIV. In 1985, the Coca-Cola Company introduced the New Coke, which reformulated soft drink meant to replace its flagship beverage due to public outrage. However, the previous version of Coke was brought back as Coca-Cola Classic less than 3 months later. And then they just got rid of New Coke, and then Coca-Cola Classic just became Coke, and it's never tasted like the original Coke ever since. It's not the original. They can say it's the original, but it has corn syrup instead of sugar. If you want real Coke, you got to go to Mexico or Europe or someplace that still uses real cane sugar instead of, corn syrup. In 1998, James Earl Ray died in prison at the age of 70. He's the guy that shot Martin Luther King Jr. So he died where he belonged, prison.
Good riddance.
2005.
Though, of course, everyone knows she was paid by the U.S. government to do that. It was a conspiracy.
Right. FBI. Right. And he has the IQ of a rock, so he was probably thinks he was doing something different. Who knows how smart this idiot was. Well, although he was smart enough to escape from prison a couple times.
Really? Okay.
Escape from prison can't be easy. 2005, the first video, well, he's probably a savant. that kind of thing, right?
Okay.
Plus being a literal idiot, along with being a literal idiot. In 2005, the first video, which was YouTube co-founders Jawed Karim's visit to the San Diego Zoo, was uploaded to YouTube. So happy birthday to YouTube 20 years ago, your first video. And approximately 1 year later, the site had some 100 million videos. And wow, in 1 year, 100 million? What's it done in 20 years? Mind-boggling. And its algorithm is, to this day, still fucked up. In 2007, Russian politician
So to be fair,
Boris
didn't have
Yeltsin,
an
who
algorithm
became
back
the-
then. That was later. That was in 2011, I think, the algorithm came in.
Oh yeah, the algorithm came in. Wait, you watched one video about Larry Bird. Let's flood your algorithm with Larry Bird videos. I got that. I was like, I've never watched a Larry Bird video, and I keep getting these Larry Bird videos. Like, I get it. He was a white guy that played basketball. Congratulations, Whitey. Anyway, I just don't understand YouTube's fascination with Larry Bird. He was a good player. Got it. But there's like, oh, he transcended. No, he didn't transcend shit. He was a basketball player. Anyway, in 2007, Russian politician Boris Yeltsin died at the age of 76, which, of course, he'd already given up his power to Putin, so it was already too late to do anything about that. He became who became in 1991 the first popularly elected leader in the country's history and guided Russia through a stormy decade of political and economic retrenching until his resignation on the eve of 2000. So he died in this day in 2007. Our featured event is 1993, voting for Eritrea's independence. On this day in 1993, after a long history of foreign rule and decades of war, the small Eastern African country of Eritrea began 3 days of voting on a referendum to make its official independence from Ethiopia. Apparently a real shitty government. So yeah, that's one of your shitty governments in Africa.
So to be fair, they share the same stuff with a lot of the same laws as the U.S. actually, but they get yelled at for it, and the U.S. doesn't get yelled at for it, which is funny.
I think everybody hates the U.S. now, so I wouldn't go that way. William Shakespeare, English author, his birthday today. That's right. Oh no, it's the day he died. He died this day at Stratford-upon-Avon, England. He was born. He died April 23rd in 1616. To be or not to be, William Shakespeare stopped being this day. James Buchanan's birthday, we covered that. It's Shirley Temple's birthday, American actress and diplomat. She was born in 1928, so it's her 97th birthday today. Roy Orbison, we covered. Michael Moore, American filmmaker and author of Roger and Me, Fahrenheit 9/11. Documentary filmmaker Michael Moore, born in 1954. He's turning 71 today. Yeah, wow, he doesn't seem like, man, people are just getting old. And of course, it's Britannica, so you must remember Timothy McVeigh's birthday, the American terrorist who blew up a building and killed a bunch of children. Let's remember him. Tim McVeigh was born in 1968. So that piece of shit who was executed by the federal government for being an asshole who killed children. Anyway, American terrorist Timothy McVeigh was born in 1968. He would be 57 today. But too bad he's dead. Actually, it's not too bad. He should have killed himself first, and then...
Done nothing. Anybody, yeah.
All right, let's wrap this show up. Now we're bleeding into Friday already. It's National Lost Dog Awareness Day. So if you lost your dog, you're probably aware of it. National Administrative Professionals Day. In other words, it used to be called secretaries, now they're called administrative professionals. Because everybody's got to have a special name. And it's National Picnic Day and National Take a Chance Day. So take a chance and have a picnic. If it's raining, it's really Take a Chance Day and Picnic Day. And it's National Cherry Cheesecake Day. Wow, that sounds good. Just any kind of cheesecake sounds good, actually. So those are your days. Those are your screw-ups, your mispronunciations, our extra long articles today, your weirdness, and your... historical events and your animal news for everything April 23rd, 2025 on Before Cherry Cheesecake.
Yep, you definitely need to check on your cherry cheesecake today. Because it's gonna be a good one. I actually don't know if I've ever had a cherry cheesecake. I think I've had maybe cheesecake with cherry like jam in it or something, you know, like it's been smushed, but never like actual cherries, little cherry bits. That would be cool. I like a cherry bit cheesecake. There we go, cherry bit cheesecake. I've given you a lot of these. I can't say it anymore. I'm gonna go insane. And that is our show for today.
Your segue.
That was the segue. Alliteration. I've done so many. Please.
Oh.
Made me do it again.
Oh. That wasn't even.
For International UN celebrations, we have English Language Day. So celebrate what is currently the lingua franca of the world. The global language, English Language Day. Yep, Shakespeare, of course, on Shakespeare's death, I guess, right? That's what you said. It was his death day today. So English still survived even after he died. Even though he revitalized English in a lot of ways. He made a lot of words and a lot of things we use today in our current English. It's also Spanish Language Day. So if you want to celebrate Spanish, I don't know why they share it with English. What is that about? The day was chosen in response to the anniversary of the death of the great genius Spanish literature Miguel de Cervantes, which we did talk about. Coincidentally, that death day also is of William Shakespeare, so it just happened, okay? So, two very important people to literature died today, and they both got the language that they wrote in for their UN International Day. We also have World Book and Copyright Day, which we're just talking about copyright, right, with DVDs and stuff. So books are like a window onto another world. With each page, they introduce us to new people. So UNESCO celebrates World Book Copyright Day today on the 23rd of April. So you can bridge that power between generations and across cultures. Wow, isn't that so inspirational? Wacky Wednesday's over. I hope that was enough wacky and weird news for you. We will see you tomorrow for Thursday's 13, where we'll draw up a list of 13 things where we can argue about, hey, you didn't put this on the list, or I don't think that really should go there, or really you put that there, and we can all have a discussion together on the list Roger's gonna draw up for us for tomorrow. And that's it. I hope you have a good rest. You got the video I sent you, right? It's very short.
Yeah, I did.
Because I found the 8-minute version of that video, and I'm like, we're not gonna watch this for 8 minutes, so we're just gonna watch the shortened version. You guys can check out the full.
I did have Right. I have a Thursday 13 list of Shakespeare words. Remember that one? Anyway.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one. Yeah. But yeah, we'll see you tomorrow for that.
Did that a while ago.
Take care of yourself. Drink water. Wear sunscreen.
No, you won't. I've already done it. You won't see that tomorrow. I've already done it. I did like last year.
We'll see you tomorrow for our Thursday 13. Here is our mic drop moment so we can end the show. Stop talking. See, this is why
singer, songwriter,
this is why you can't drink coffee during the show. You just don't shut up.
1960s pop ballads like "Oh Pretty Woman." In 1987, he was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
This is a short little history
Roy Orbison formed his first band at age 13. The singer-songwriter dropped out of college to pursue music. He signed with Monument Records and recorded such
they're really great at music. Yeah, I dropped off to college for it. Well, you better have.
Roy
Is there a guy who stayed in college and
was
became a
born
good
on
musician?
April 23rd, 1936 in Vernon, Texas. A year before Beatlemania overtook the United States in 1964, the four lads from Liverpool invited Orbison to open for them on their English tour. On his first night, Orbison performed 14 encores before the Beatles even made it on stage.
Or was that 14? I didn't understand him.
Was perhaps
either way, that's a lot.
Unlikely sex symbol of the 1960s.
Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.